we're going to see society come to a fall. For example, there's men trying to be women, women trying to be men. And we say that's not political, but that's a spiritual thing that God wouldn't want his children to, I believe, move in the light that way. So he would want his young women, his young men to be as such as they were born. And if we can see that happen in society, we need to realize that society is on a decline, and we need to start to refix or fix how we think about things, how we rework things, in order to make sure that the next generation actually has a established earth or world to live in, because they are going to live in a society where anyone can be anybody or anything, or you can identify or feel as though you can be a cat or a dog. And once we get there,
or furry,
and once we get there, we're gonna have, unfortunately, men identifying, or grown women identifying with children. And that's the big thing that we need. That's the most important thing that we need to combat, because if we can get rid of a lot of the human trafficking and the child trafficking in the world, I think we can get rid of a lot of the problems, but it starts with the people that actually are causing the problems.
So I don't blame the individuals. I mean, they do cause chaos with all their, way of being, let's say, and this whole transgender movement, right, is just out of control.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off every time I see God's rainbow being used for.
Exactly.
I make pictures all the time, all these great images, and what do? I stay away from that rainbow because I am trying to promote God, not your transgenderism, simply put, right? And I'm not, and once again, I blame society.
Yeah.
I mean, even our own government, they're promoting it. California, they give you an extra $1,000 to be it. I mean, everywhere you go, but here's the thing: is you go over, if you leave the country, they'll chop your head over it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, so America has got it all twisted up. But guess what? They have done that intentionally. So I don't blame you. Society has created you, right? You're just so confused. You don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and that's, society has created this issue, but people don't know who the real enemy is.
They don't.
And unfortunately, you can't mention the real enemy because you get labeled a certain thing that I don't really want to discuss on camera. But you most likely know who I'm talking about. And these people, they have controlled society in a way that made them look like the victim. But in reality, they're the ones that are the oppressor. And you look at history, and if you really do a deep dive into things like World War II and World War I, and look at Berlin, Germany, for example, and do your history on the transgender movement in Berlin, Germany in the 1930s, you'd realize that these people have been doing this for a very long time. And it's here in America now, and it kind of started there. And we need to kind of work back how we look at our people at the top, and realize what they're doing. Hold them accountable for their actions.
We definitely need to hold them accountable. They have a plan in place, and we're just going to spend a little bit more time on this topic, because then we'll move on, because I think it's a very disgusting topic, talking about the sexuality of children and child trafficking and human trafficking and all this stuff. I think it's really outrageous that these are topics that we have to have that, and people are so unaware of. However, what they're actually trying to do is they, even with scary movies, they're trying to make us numb, right? They're trying to desensitize us, so that this way, everything's okay.
Yeah.
You being a dog or slopping off your thing is okay. You being, a man but getting Woman of the Year, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. However, now we have pedophiles that are now minor attracted adults, right? So they're trying to, oh, by the way, and you have, a child at a very young age that can say, well, I want to be the opposite sex or opposite gender.
Yeah.
At a young age. So
doesn't make sense.
So if they can make a decision and the parents be removed from that, then Well, how far do you think it's going to take, or how long do you think it's going to take before that same, they may pass a law or whatever they do that says, oh, well, if they can decide what gender they are, well, surely they can decide at that age of 8 or 10 or 14 or whatever young age it is, that who they can have sex with, as far as a minor attracted adult. So therefore, they are paving the way. That would be the elites, our government, the globalists. I mean, we can point fingers at all of them, right? But there's a plan in place to really make this happen.
So if you look at things like the Olympics, you can see that there's people in power that are pushing this agenda on the normal people in society to make us feel that as though these people need to be included, and they're the most I don't know the word for it, segregated, I would say, community, or one of the most segregated communities in society. But if you look at deaths in Chicago, for example, or black men dying in Chicago, there could be 1,000 black men dying in a year in one city, but they're looking more at the transgenders that died, the 17 that died within the year span, not even looking at the 1,000 that passed away in Chicago. So they are pushing this stuff to the forefront because they want to cause confusion or stir confusion within our youth. Because if they can push confusion within our youth, they can ultimately control what they want and do what they want. So that's when the pedophilia comes into play. The pedophiles can now go in with their confusion to a confused group of children, basically, or community, and tell them as though that what they need to be. And because they are already accepting confusion, they do not see what the devil is actually doing to them in disguise, which is giving them this feeling of love and euphoria, which is not actually love, is actually a detriment and destruction to themselves. But that's the devil's ploy onto society. He goes in through illusions and he makes it seem like he's giving you something that you need and he's giving you everything that you want. In reality, 50, 60 years down the line, it's going to be the worst off for your family's lineage. And that's what we need to get past, and that's where we need to go back again internally.
I want to say is we have a problem and we need to fix it.
Yes.